Hello guys, welcome to an XPTO new video. Today is Monday, which means another Bitcoin weekly candle close.
Yes, guys, today is Monday, so another Bitcoin weekly candle close. As you can see, last week Bitcoin retested the level that I mentioned at 109,000 and got rejected. And we've been mentioning that closing, losing the 105,000 level, that would mean that Bitcoin could potentially go much lower. So having said that, we can see that from the 112 level to roughly 98,000, we can see that Bitcoin is corrected now 12%. So 12% means, like I've been mentioning, 12% is just normal when the DXY switch from silver to red. So we analyzed this in a previous video, and we said that it's normal for Bitcoin to have correction when the DXY is switching from silver to red. You can see in 2017, Bitcoin had many correction, 40% correction. You can see, but the one after the DXY switching from silver to red was a 30% correction, 40% correction in this case, 40% correction. And still during this phase, you can see we had another correction here, which is around 30%. So if you guys are expecting to switch from silver to red on the DXY and hoping that Bitcoin is going to go high without any type of correction, this is not the case. As you can see during 2020, Bitcoin had, switching from silver to red, had a 20% correction during this phase before the acceleration phase, 20% correction. We had so many correction during this red phase. You can see another one here, 10%, or we have another one which is 15%, but quickly recovered and kept pushing up. So to have a 12% correction is our first 12% correction during this DXY switching from silver to red. So 12% correction, I don't think this is a big deal. This is just part of market behavior. This happened before, and I don't think that 12% is something that should be concerning most people. Actually, uh, finding where Bitcoin could potentially find a support, it would be around, it could even come and find support around the top of our channel, in this case here. So find support on top of our channel, that would represent a 19%, 19 to 20% correction. So if you are not ready to stomach a 20% correction, that means you don't understand or you're not prepared for Bitcoin market movement or for Bitcoin volatility. Of course, last week I said that the a 10% correction, Bitcoin becoming less volatile. Yes, still less volatile. We have 10% correction. We could have 20% correction to retest the top of this channel, and still that would be nothing compared to the 40% and 30% that we had in previous bull market. So this is perfectly normal. The reason why I'm saying that is because we are in the red phase. We are preparing for the acceleration uh, mode. This should be our main focus, is believing that the red phase is a phase that contains correction, but it's the phase that prepares us to move to the acceleration mode. Of course, we can see that 110,000 level is still a resistance zone. So Bitcoin was not able to close one candle above this level, not yet, and that's why we have to be prepared for this type of correction before we actually close a candle, start closing candle above the 110,000 level. The DXY Bitcoin ratio, you can see for that reason that with this correction, you can see that the RSI broke this downward trend line to the upside. But because the DXY is already giving us the stronger signal, this is what is leading our analysis. We believe with this one, we know that Bitcoin is going to have correction and move upward. Based on this, we can actually come. I would adjust this trend line and see if there is a potential to buy the dip, and I will do this right now and show you guys my what I see at the moment. What I see at the moment is a much longer trend line where I will be, we're gonna have one touch point, second touch point, with this being our only fake out. So fake out, I'll explain this in many other videos. You can go and watch. Fake out is when we briefly break this trend line to the upside and then return back. This happened here in 2020. This happened here in 2017. So it's perfectly normal. I don't think the structure is broken, not yet. And we can see what I'm gonna do right now is to see if there is a potential to buy the dip, which means anytime or every time the RSI touch this downward trend line, that means it's an opportunity to buy the dip. So currently we are adjusting this trend line. We can see that the RSI is approaching this trend line. So I will keep it this way. I will keep it this way, and I will keep it this way and see what is going to happen to this trend line. How the RSI is going to behave once it touches this trend line. So we have Bitcoin. Bitcoin basically retested as low as $98,225, and is currently consolidating at this level. And you can see that we are very close to this downward trend line. What we want is for this week to actually manage to hold this trend line. That means Bitcoin is not going much lower, although it could quickly go to find support above our downward channel and push upward, and that would still be okay. Perfect market structure. We wouldn't break this market structure, and we don't want Bitcoin to come and break this downward trend line, this downward channel, and closing candle inside it. If this happens, we know that it's a break of market structure. So having said that, we now have the RSI very close to this downward trend line. In my opinion, is a very bullish situation at the moment. Why? We know that Bitcoin, the DXY is red, and being red, we have correction, and we only have to find out where the support is going to be. And the RSI, or the DXY Bitcoin ratio, is potentially telling us that we are very close to some local bottom or support if we respect this downward trend line, coming and touching this trend line and resuming down, that means that the current market position is the local bottom. So I'm going to be removing this trend line. This trend line would be here if the RSI would break this 30 level to the downside, is when I would be marking the potential acceleration or confirmation of acceleration mode, or at the end of correction for Bitcoin. So I will keep this trend line. I'll keep this trend line exactly here, where if you look back, you can see that where this downward trend line crosses the 30 level is where I put my bear market signal um, line, as you can see here. As you can see here, once the RSI breaks this downward trend line in the 30 level, after being green, is when we can expect the bear market to start. We can see this line exactly where the RSI will be breaking this level, the 30 level, leaving the 30 level to the downside, to the upside in this case, and breaking this downward trend line is when we can expect the bear market to start. So extending this downward trend line means that Bitcoin is likely to have a much longer bull market. Of course, we started in 2023, and we are currently in 2025, June 2025, and it seems like we are not able to break the 30 level to the downside and push toward our 18.62 and becoming green, where the acceleration mode will be in full force. So I believe that RSI could find support around this level and resume downward. So this would be marking the acceleration mode for Bitcoin. Otherwise, we could have a different market structure in terms of the RSI, and that's why we have to keep an eye on this indicator. Crypto fear and greed index, we can see that we are still making lower lows. So the megaphone pattern formation that I mentioned last week, we're still forming. We could make higher high in terms of market sentiment. So we were expecting to have extreme greed, and this didn't happen because Bitcoin got rejected again at our 110,000 level. So as I mentioned last week, that only if we would close a candle above the 109,000 and subsequently close this week on trying to push have a bullish continuation to find support above 110,000 level, is when the sentiment would switch to greed and we would have higher highs instead of lower highs like is happening at the moment. So we have lower lows, but we need to start building higher highs in terms of sentiment. And the reason why we are not forming this yet is because Bitcoin is still consolidating. So we got rejected, and this is something we have to keep an eye on and see where the support is going to be. We know the support is near. If we compare it to, if you look at the RSI on the DXY Bitcoin ratio, there's a possibility for us to be near the local support, temporary support around the 100 in this case, the 98,000 could be that area. Otherwise, we would have to consider the top of our downward channel as a support. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, and sharing this video with your friends and family. And I will see you next Monday. Thank you very much.
Thank you.